Welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to another backtesting video, another episode. So it's been a minute since I last recorded. Obviously we're on the 29th, so we're going to move into the 30th. If I recall, I think there was low probability conditions in the end. Didn't really present anything, so we're gonna go again. Just looking at this, no M15 liquidity purge. Therefore, would need to wait for the M15 order block. So no. So yeah, very low probability. Okay, so I'm going to clear these elements here. Just going to clean up the charts. It's like I said, it's been a minute since I last did a backtesting session, so it will take a second just to get up to speed. In actual fact, let's just zone out to the hourly. Okay, it's a bit random. In fact, I'm just going to get rid of all the hourly key price levels, and then we'll go from there. Hold on, I'm going to that's better. Less of the clicking with this mouse. We'll use this one. Okay, so we're on the hourly. I'm going to skip ahead to the next session. I do think we'll see a continuation of higher prices, but I'm not a fan of this PA, but we'll see. Where's that? So the order block was it here? Traded down. And then eventually traded up to that high time frame objective. Interesting. Okay, anyway, let's keep this moving along. Next session should be, yeah, and then next session, and now we can venture out to the 4 hour. Not even the 4 hour, let's venture out to the daily. Okay. Okay. Excuse me. So yeah, we were trying to look for that continuation move. But anyway, so let's get cracking. So first obvious thing, in fact, I'm going to leave the lows in play. Let's just go out to the weekly. Just want to see. Okay, that's fine. Right, so I'm just going to go quiet a second. I'm just going to mark up some of these key price levels. And I'll be right back. Okay, so excuse me. Want to okay. Right, okay. So want this high. Okay. So we want to mark that up. Excuse me. I think it's time to have a bit of coffee. Okay. Let's get comfortable. Excuse me. Okay. Nothing else seems very okay. Okay. I don't think there is anything else that sort of stands out to me per se. Okay. Yeah, I think that's fine. So let's get into some analysis. starting with IOF, and I'll have a bit of coffee. So we can see that this is clearly to the upside. Don't need to sort of say too much in relation to this. It might be useful to determine whether, excuse me, that could potentially be a breakaway gap. Might be useful. So again, if we check that, we have got this sitting here, but we have closed below it, so it's a good chance we could see that this be traded too. It's a good chance. Not a guarantee, just a good chance. Okay, so IOF. So relative to the daily time frame, this is to the upside. Following the high time frame displacement, which was initiated by the high time frame cracking correlation at the lows. Okay, that's the first thing. Secondly, I have noted bullish fair value gaps being repriced and rebalanced, or being left unfilled, with the market showing a willingness to reprice higher. If we drop down to the 4 hour, let's expand that. We can see how old highs being displaced through. Just there, displaced through. So old lows being manipulated, whilst old highs are being displaced through. So that's supporting bullish institutional order flow. Now, we have traded to a key price level, so we do have to be mindful. However, the market has displaced through said key price level, certainly showing indications that it has. So we just got to be mindful of that. Again, we don't want to pick tops and bottoms. So ERL, IRL. Let's go back out to the daily. Okay, so the market has purged a key liquidity pool in the form of an old high. External range liquidity pool. Therefore, if the market was to form an high time frame cracking correlation, then I would be noting the imbalance below the marketplace. However, if the market wants to continue higher, so if we just zone out to the weekly, what do we have above the marketplace? The next high is going to be this high here. So if we're looking at aligned, we're sort of looking at these highs there. I'm not going to mark them off yet because it's still a way to get there. So yeah, so it's purged. Key liquidity pool. But we could see displacement. If it forms a high time frame Kraken correlation at the highs, then we could see the market want to trade down into this BISI. If it doesn't, then the likelihood is we could see a continuation of higher prices. Okay, so I'm going to leave that one at that, and then we're going to get into the CRUT. So dropping down to the H4. So I've noted the clean and clear swing point below the marketplace, above the marketplace. Where near term resting liquidity would reside. Okay. Missed a key part of that, haven't I? Let me just edit that. Above the marketplace, referencing the previous day's high. And where Western would reside. Okay, so the previous day's high has formed above the 2-week open. Therefore, this could represent an high probability trade idea if purged. Okay. TO, pretty self-explanatory. All members are currently above the 2-week open, supporting the idea of high probability shorts. Okay. None of them are really sort of like in massive close proximity, but they're close enough. Close enough. Okay. So now we want to have a look at any Kraken correlations. And I'm looking specifically at high time frame SMT. That's what I'm looking for. Not necessarily PDA, SMT, although that is important. But I'm looking for high time frame SMT. And currently we have it at the lows. So we'll just make a brief note of that. But because that essentially occurred, when was it, Monday? We've sort of moved quite a way away. So where price has now moved away from that key price level. Okay. So I will be looking to identify a new hard time frame cracking correlation to support the next trade idea. Okay, so so that's of interest. Okay. Yeah, we'll just use that candle for now. Okay, so I'm just going to make a note. Potential PJSMT at the lows, supporting higher prices, but to be confirmed. Okay, so now we're going to go into the game plans, but first and foremost, I want to drop down to the hourly, see exactly what's been going on and how they sort of relate to certain models. Okay, so before we get into all of that, we want to see these. Okay, fine. It's me just getting my bearings all off. Okay. And we want, let's just see which is higher. 2750. Even better. Now I want to just go and double check the 4-hour time frame. Keep it as the hourly for now. We use the one that came first. Excuse me. Which is the AR. Okay. Now, I'm not necessarily going to use the AR here because this is in close proximity to this high. So it's kind of no point. So so I want to take this one, first and foremost. Let's get those in here. So we know that's been purged. I'm just going to, just so we can see the name. Then we want to bring this one here. So a lot of H1 liquidity being purged, which to some extent is a good thing. It kind of supports potential trading ideas, game plan ideas. And it has formed that sort of near-term low time frame SMT. Okay, and then I'm just going to change the name of this to London. Like so. Then finally we want to look for any imbalances both above and below the market. It's not this. And we want to look for, so we're heading into the New York session, so it's the London session we're keen to see. So if we look at YM, we've got this one here, so we want that. If that gets violated, that's interesting. Okay. So got a bit of overlapping confluences in here. Interesting to see which okay, so there we go. H4, and then we've got some hourly stuff there. So unconfirmed. However, if we're looking at this here, occurred during London, I'm just going to drop down to the 15-minute order block here. Propulsion block potentially there. Okay, this is the order block here. Can mark that up whilst we're here. Okay, just going to make a note of it. Divergence between ES and NQ. This one okay, so back to the hourly. So in terms of game plans, upside objectives are still in play. Why? Because if we go to the 4-hour time frame, excuse me, this 4-hour inflection point has formed potential SMT. It's not confirmed yet, but it's potential. Therefore, we haven't purged a H4 key price level or inflection point zone or inflection level to determine a sell. No high time frame SMT cracking correlation exists at the highs to support lower prices yet. Doesn't mean it can't happen, but what it means is that the market is more likely to reprice higher than lower. Is essentially what I'm alluding to. Especially if it finds support there to the previous day's high. If it finds support from this. Now, we can see NQ has overshot. That is a sign that we could see lower prices, but we've also got to be mindful of the fact that ES hasn't purged its low. So although NQ is probably inching towards wanting to trade lower right now, as far as I'm concerned, I just want to pop out to the daily, check something. Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, that is not yet clear. Okay. And certainly any trade above the, any violation of this SIBI would confirm that. But we potentially have framework to support higher prices. So, game potential. And look, and if we're wrong, we're wrong. So, game plan 1. So at the lows. Okay, so we need to be very specific with the market being above the true week open and finding support at a BCH4 coupled with high time frame cracking correlation could support the idea of higher prices to certainly the Asian range high, the relative equal highs, potentially the previous day's high, but we'll put the previous day's high as the sort of overarching high time frame objective. So high time frame objective. Okay, so that's one. Again, want to just jump out to see some high time frame potential opportunities. So that would be the game plan in terms of higher prices. In terms of lower prices, I'm not really looking at anything, despite the fact that the market could trade lower. I'm not disputing that at all. But without a high time frame framework up here, which in my opinion we have got, what was this? We got this high. I mean, that was the catalyst potentially for, just going to mark this as unconfirmed. Marking it as unconfirmed, not because it's unconfirmed, this one could well be, but it just means it's something for me to go and take a look at. Okay, so let's see if we clearly okay, so that's interesting. key is because the divergence is NQ. Sorry, it's YM. Not so keen, but notwithstanding does not mean it's not a model. I think if we had... Okay. So that is a possibility. Bear with me. Back to the 4 hour. Yeah, okay. Okay, so just going to make a note. Okay, so with the market being above the 2-week open, if we note a low time frame SMT cracking correlation above current price with a time-based liquidity pool, this could set the stage for lower prices. Okay, so that's that one, and I think we haven't had confirmation of I mean, we could see potential BPR here on NQ. Oh, that's going to annoy me. Hold on. There we go. If we were to see a BPR here, that could tip its hat that we are repricing lower. But again, if the market was to expand lower and leave, I mean, the other option is, in terms of lower prices, which I'm going to note, is 3. Less so important with the market being above or below, but you know, let's note it with the market being above the 2-week open. If price trades up into the CB H1 and forms low time frame, forms PDA SMT, this could set the stage for lower prices. Okay, so we've got a couple of scenarios here. The H4 BISI is quite important. So we've got 3 scenarios. There is a 4th if we find support here, but the reality is, if we, we could get a continuation model if price expands, creates a BISI, and then trade into it. But that is a lot of work for price to do. It's still possible. you know, ideally, if we're going to go higher, then we'll go higher from here. So we've got 3 game plans that we are looking at. We obviously need to see confirmation, and we need. Sorry, let me just go back to the hourly, and we need to be extremely mindful. So with that, I'm going to mark this level. So that's that. And we want the same thing in here, because this is the first of the key price levels. Now, if all members trade above this key price level, yes, it does mean, it doesn't mean that we can't see lower prices. Of course we can, but it just means that the market, I'll be anticipating further higher prices before we see the reversal, and it kind of supports the idea of the first model of seeing higher prices. So just got to be mindful of that. So so we're going to go here. We've got an overlap of some PD arrays here, which is interesting. We've had the H1 liquidity purge. So we've got some news as well. Let's not forget that. It's at 8:15. So that's this thing. It's so annoying. Like, what is it doing? And then it moves further away. Bless me. And Jesus, let's just get rid of it. Come back to thank you. We got this one here, which is high impact news. Beautiful, it worked. Okay, so we've got a few things that we've got to be quite vigilant on. So the first thing is, do we get confirmation of potential higher prices? And we want to see that by the validation of this bullish order block. That bullish order block there. Some could say it's this one here, but you know, and in itself that could represent low time frame SMT. Could be here. I mean, in terms of any liquidity purge, but the last liquidity purge on the hourly, if we look at it, was this one here, and that was caused by ultimately this down close candle. So in actual fact, that's the H1 bullish candle as well, bullish order block potential. Okay, let's skip forward. Let's get towards the news and then see what's happening. Okay, we'll go with 5 minute for now. And then we'll okay, so as you can see here, they've both tapped into, all three have tapped into here. So this to me now is more so indicating higher prices than it is lower prices. Again, could be wrong, but certainly I would like to go and see some form of purge at the highs on at least one of these assets, and most likely ES. That's what it signifies, but we haven't seen a close above it, so we've got to wait. Anyway, we've got to keep going because we're not in session. So NQ so this order block here has not been confirmed. The propulsion block here, I want to see confirmation of this order block here, in all honesty, from ES, and the likelihood is, I'm just going to drop down to the 1 minute now because we're getting close to our time frame. The likelihood is we're going to see some kind of move. Okay, this is why we wait. Right, so we've formed lower low, so I'm just going to venture out. There's nothing in the offing here. Obviously the market traded into this hourly SIBI, but as far as I'm concerned, we had symmetrical price action. Okay. It's not looking, put it this way, it's not looking bullish. Let's say that much. And currently, as far as I'm concerned, there's nothing for me to frame a trade idea yet. So we'll continue. We've obviously seen all of them purge this low now, deeper, which is still good for a potential trade idea. Just means that this now, let me grab that. This now becomes the potential order block. Still the same on that one. Quite large propulsion block though, if you ask me, if it was going to hold. Not sure if it will, but we'll see. No, you go. So not trying to hold on to the initial premise. It does seem very bearish, the market, I'm not going to lie, but we'll see. Okay, that is interesting. So we're currently looking at game plan 1. Just going to venture out. Date some key levels. But to me, it's still looking, it's started to look far more bearish, especially with NQ, than initially anticipated. But again, we can't say that for certain. We have another short-term hourly low here. Okay, that has been purged. So just tracking price, not trying to jump ahead or anything of that nature, just tracking price. Just want to drop down to now That's not closed yet, that's only just started. H4, we're still looking at these highs here. What I want to do is annotate this. This is the new. Do you want to do that? It's the new M15 Sibi. We need to note that. Want to see how price reacts with it. Which is important. Okay. Right, so we're just going to play price on a little bit. I want to see if we get any intention. Doesn't look like we are. It looks like it's being respected, which supports the idea of further lower prices. Let's drop into the M5. Interesting. Let's put that in there. M5. Suppose that's the first inclination of potential high prices. Just want to go back to the M15 and see. So it's arguable that that is the now order block. But the market has not yet. We're sort of in between the rationale of lower prices and higher prices, if that makes sense. Because yes, we've got some confirmation here at the lows. But the fact that we've seen this rejection here, it doesn't really, and furthermore, this Sibi here being rejected, you know, I'd want to see price trade back up there, because technically speaking, there is a BPR in here, right? And if we look at this one, there's also, you know, BPR in there as well. So that's not indicative or supporting higher prices yet. I would want to see price trade back above there. So we're going to just wait, and as we get closer to equities open, it does, you know, okay, so that makes things far more interesting and compelling. Let's just see how this candle closes. And I'm keen to see how this next candle closes. So I just want to see, do we find support? And with that candle like that, the answer to that question would be no. So currently, it's a really interesting one here. Market's not exactly. It is on ES. ES is definitely, you know, identifying a potential trade. Now, what I want to do is just zoom out first before we look to do anything. Because if we look at the hourly, the market found support for lower prices here across all members. And if we even go further out to the H4, it's not, to me, especially NQ, is not looking bullish. Now, again, I could be wrong. ES, yes. NQ, not so. And we also have to bear in mind that NQ was the one that purged the old weekly high by quite a considerable amount. Now, this is not a case of trying to talk out of a trade. This is a case of trying to formulate a trade idea. And here, you know, 1 hour would be there. If we took a position, it's just, to me, it's not indicating yet bullishness, despite. But then, you know, I've had some confluences at the lows to support the idea. So it is. It is looking. We've traded back above the BPR. Well, you know what? Let's find out. Let's see. You know, it does meet my criterias, so I'm going to place this order. Oh, hang on. Cancel that. Okay. Yeah, it would be a market order. Okay. The key is equity's open, but certainly. Hang on, just bear me 1 second. I just want to pop back out here a sec. Just want to see the hourly candle. We have got a lot of liquidity below the marketplace. My inclination is not to take this trade for the simple fact that NQ has not found support at this CB, whereas ES has. And although that I would anticipate this to go higher, I would much rather get involved here, lower, than get involved here, higher. Just because I'm looking at NQ, and NQ is not giving me support to indicate higher prices. So for me, I'm not particularly liking that. Now, could well be wrong. They've all traded into here. Bear with me. Okay, I want to see how price reacts with this Sibi. I'm going to wait till this Sibi. Yes, this low time frame framework is supporting potential higher prices. I'm going to wait for the additional confirmation. And then we'll work from there. Okay, that's what I'm planning to do. So let's go. It's NQ that I'm not massively convinced about. So this is just before equities open, so we've got a few more minutes to go. NQ is just not showing signs that it wants to trade higher. Okay, so that is pretty good, certainly on ES. So we've had the initial move. Let's see what this would look like. Not sure if I want to get into a market order, if I'm honest. Was it there? Okay. Just goes to the M5. I think we'll go with a market order here. Target those relative equal highs, then see if the market wants to expand any higher. Stop loss 8.25. Would be a little bit more than that though, wouldn't it? At 10.25. Got that candle there. I don't think that's the end of the world. Yeah, 10.25. Okay. This hold on. Okay. Move that across. Okay, so I think there's a lot going on here, so let's just try and space this out. We could be completely, let me just put this in. We could be, but with the market appearing to show support, I think it's certainly plausible. I've done that, but it's not actually times that. That candle's not. Let me get rid of that. It's not actually closed yet. Okay, so we're going to display. Let's see. Okay, so hasn't yet followed through. We'll continue till the close of this candle, and that will give us an indication. Okay, that's not looking good because it's closed in the gap. That's not looking good. But let's okay. It's looking a bit better. YM is approaching a 4-hour inflection point, which is fine. I think YM, let's just go out to the hourly. That potentially, especially with ES and NQ inside of that SIBI, is interesting because that could create SMT to trade lower. So that is a potential concern. So let's just pop to the M5. Well, the reality is this, where are we? So let's have a look at, because of this is what's key here now. So we've got to be really careful and mindful because of this key level there. So I'm just going to mark that up, and I'm just going to utilize this. Let's just utilize that. And the reason why I say that is because, I mean, this is looking quite bullish, but it could create SMT. But I like this as a target. So what I'm going to do is just note there's a lot going on here. So apologies for sort of like the overlapping of stuff. But that liquidity pool there, this is certainly a candle that I've got my eye on. And on NQ, that candle. So going to play on, I'm not seeing displacement, you see, which is a little worrying. I'm not seeing that yet. So if we trade below here, then it'll be a case of jumping out of the trade, I would have thought, because then the likelihood is we're going to go and take out this low. So let's see. See, so it's NQ closed below here, and YM is closed below there. So that is indicating to me that we could see high time frame Kraken correlation there, but I want to see ES trade below here. Now, yes, does that mean we're going to take more of a loss? Yes, it does, but that's part and parcel. Okay, we've got to give ourselves chance. Okay, so that's good. We've got to give ourselves the opportunity. Now, I am going to trail my stop below the low of this candle, because this candle here took out this high. Okay, so what we got, low 608.75, 608.75. So just going up a little bit, 608.75. Okay. Now, key level would be, let's just take this there. If the market gets to this level, now again, I am watching YM. YM could be, you know, I just want to make that slightly different. So there we go. So we've brought up our stop just to reduce our risk slightly. This could still trade down. We're not out of the proverbial. Now, I want to see where the hourly order block is. Okay, so our hourly order block is here. And we want to see that hold price. Now, apologies, because it's going to add more. I'm going to clean up the charts in a second now. NQ is not looking like it wants to go higher. If I'm being honest, it's still finding support at the CB. However, we can see here that ES has purged its CB, so that would indicate to me at least here, ideally. But again, we've just got to be extremely mindful how we manage the position and so on. That level is still important. We haven't lost sight of that. So we're just going to play on a little bit. And now we're back into it. So this is indicating to me that NQ wants to trade lower. NQ's finding support at the CB. You can see it. And this is not it doesn't look to me that the market is supporting higher prices right now. It just does not look to be the case, because NQ is finding it extremely difficult. Let's look, see, there's no displacement. It's just real it's just a lot of what do you call it, a lot of consolidation. So I'm going to stick with it, because we've put our loss that it's either the market's going to take us out, we're not going to close the trade, the market's going to take us out, but this level, I think if we trade below that level, then yeah, I think this trade idea is done. You know, so we'll see. So it's going to pause it there. We're seeing a bit of a rejection. That's not a bad rejection candle on NQ. still not wholly confident with this trade, but you know, let's see. It meets the model. It meets our model, and that's the important thing here. We've essentially inverted this, so I'm just going to do that. M15. And we can do that here as well, which, I mean, that is a good sign for the trade, but it's just a confluence right now. It's not necessarily, you know, we would like to see some form of displacement would be ideal. And we've also got to monitor YM as it seems to want to approach this its previous day's high. I'm not convinced NQ and ES are going to trade there, but nonetheless, let's see. So what time are we? We're at 10:13. So you see the market appears to be wanting to push higher. We've now got we're going to put this as a bullish order block. Bullish order block M15. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just going to go to the H1. Just going to take this imbalance level out. Didn't realize I still had it in. That imbalance level out here. We're seeing this rejection on YM, which we don't like, but let's continue. So we've got the order block here. So we've moved our stop loss up. It's not a lot yet we can do with a trade in terms of trade management. So we're just going to play on. Still risky territory, but we've accepted the risk. Oh, now that's a right into the order block. That's a big candle, and we're seeing this push down now, which if we go to the M5, there's been no displacement yet on the M5, but it's looking rather bearish again. Right, so let's play on. NQ, weirdly, is looking the most bullish of all asset classes right now. And this doesn't look, so we're likely to be taken out yet. So taken out, not ideal. No real follow through, which was interesting at the civvy. As you can see, they violated that. So unfortunately, we'll take the L on that. Let's just make, we'll make a very brief note. Okay, so what we're looking at here is, see, the M5 hasn't. I'm just going to take this off now because we don't really need this. Okay, fine. That doesn't look That doesn't look great. It's traded back into here. This is looking extremely bearish, but let's see what happens. Just going to play on. NQ is certainly looking rather bullish. This is not a... I mean, it's traded back into the inversion fair value gap. We obviously brought up our stop loss. I thought that stop loss could be moved higher. Maybe not. I mean, it's still looking very bearish. This is, you know, balanced price range, but NQ still appears to want to trade higher. So, I mean, weirdly, NQ, the one that looked extremely bearish, is the one that appears to want to go higher. Now, we're at the BC again. Our high time frame framework is still in play. We traded down into the order blocks. Let's just have a look at the hourly. Rejected. This trade idea is still valid. It's certainly still valid. We have got a BPR here. Let's just clean this up a little bit. So we're looking at this. I still think that this trade idea is valid. So we've got this low. $46. Yeah, I still think that this is extreme. This is possible trade idea here. I want to say the previous day's high, but it's not looking as likely to there. So we've got the here. It's still extremely valid. I can't say I love... No, I'm going to stay out of this one. I'm going to let it play out. I've got a feeling that price is still going to return higher, but I'm going to let it play out, and we'll just formulate a really high probability position when it's time. It just doesn't appear to me this is not the best trade idea to get into. So that is extremely interesting what we're seeing here. back to the 4 hour. It's interesting. Sorry, go back to the hourly. Okay. Interesting. I'd much rather be looking at this short. Let me just put this line in here. So I'm going to get rid of that. Get rid of this. Get rid of that. 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 Same on here. So nothing, potentially something here. Want to see if that gets confirmed. And so I just want to see this 5-minute candle. Where would this candle likely drive to? This SIBI here, if it's going anywhere. Let's have a look. Traded into the hourly order block. We could get involved here. Well, actually, let's have a look. Did it? Did form that displacement there. The likelihood of it trading back up into here. Okay, we're not going to chase it, but I think this is going lower now. But we'll leave it and let it play out and see what happens. We'll go until midday. I'm going to change this to the 5-minute. There we go. Okay. And yeah, and there it's most likely going to continue low. So we'll just go past the lunch hour. And we should see potentially. Wow. Oh, this is interesting, isn't it? Okay. Well, we're going to leave it here. This price action is not very nice. I mean, look at that. It's horrible. So it's one of those where, yeah, with in hindsight, I would say this in terms of takeaway. You look at the 4 hour and we see NQ trade below, and we see YM, ES sort of try to hold. Now, if there was a high time frame cracking correlation by way of liquidity pool, then I think higher prices would be fine. But I think when we're looking at this imbalance, the key is probably the high. And once that was purged, it's unlikely to reprice as high as we want. And I think now the market's likely to reprice higher. So had we had a previous day's low somewhere around here and it took that out, then yes, we can allow for. So let's just assume with NQ there was a previous day's low. It purges the previous day's low, but the bodies of the candle closes below the SIBI. That would have been fine. However, because there isn't, and we've seen NQ trade below, that indicates we're probably going to see lower prices. Okay, so that's probably my takeaway, and I'm going to make that note now, just now, so if anyone's watching this, they can take that price action observation away. So PA observation. So if one of the assets trades to and through and a BISI, let's just use a BISI H4, whilst the other appears to be finding support, if there is no previous day's low in close proximity or previous day's low nearby, I prefer putting close proximity, this will likely close proximity, and there is high time frame cracking correlation at the highs, this will likely support further lower prices. Okay. However, if there is a previous day's low, one asset may be drawing to that high time frame key price level, whilst the other finds support at the imbalance, which could then support higher prices. Okay, so let me just make a note of that. So if one of the assets trades to and through a BISI H4, so what we saw here on NQ, traded to and through, right? Whilst the other appears to be finding support, whereas this candle appeared to be finding support at CE, right? If there is no previous day's low in close proximity, and there is a high time frame cracking correlation at the highs here, this will likely support further lower prices. However, if there is a previous day's low here, and one asset may be drawing towards it, so we could assume a previous day's low here, NQ draws towards the previous day's low, ES doesn't. The other could find support at the imbalance, forms the high time frame cracking correlation, and that could see higher prices. Okay. This could form the high time frame cracking correlation at the lows. And then support higher prices. Okay. So I'm going to leave this one here because this one's gone on along. So unfortunately it was a red day. That's fine. That's what we're here for. nice to get that out of the system now, and now we can crack on. As I said, this is learning. This is taking information in terms of market behavior and so on. So really good to understand that, and it's something that I can note as observational elements to my live trading models as well, just to add to the efficiencies of those models. So hopefully you've taken something away. I know this one was a slow burner. It was a long one. Appreciate you all. Appreciate those who watch. Hopefully you've taken something away from this. If you'd be most kind to hit the thumbs up and maybe even subscribe to the channel, I would be most grateful. And I will catch you guys in the next one.